Looking for nerdy news? You're in the right place.
Great. Guy's gonna be late again.
This is the Nerdy News Rundown.
I got plenty of time.
On today's show, Deadpool 2, apparently it doesn't suck. We might have got fake news. Infinity War, new revelations about the Hulk being afraid of Thanos. Dragon Ball, new details on the coming movie in 2018 have dropped. We're going over all of that and your questions.
I'm gonna be late!
I'm your host, Josh Lucas, broadcasting live from Uncanny in the King of Prussia Mall, Philadelphia. Let's get this show started. Oh man, oh man, oh man. What is up, all of you beautiful nerds around the world? Thanks for welcoming me into your home, car, somewhere, wherever. I'm, of course, Josh. This is the Nerdy News Rundown. Sorry about the lack of episode yesterday. Just had to do some housekeeping, getting some stuff figured out. I know everyone missed me. I got a bunch of messages from people. So, hey, look, I'm back. It's all good. We're Gravy Train. Now, before we get into the topics of the day, a couple of things, of course. Shout out to Uncanny, sponsor of the show. Guys, we got some really cool stuff coming on the way with regards to Uncanny. Cool ways for people to come in here, check the show out, get some cool prizes, maybe some swag, stuff like that. Cool stuff on the way. But it's new comic book day. If you like comic books, and even if you don't, just go into Uncanny and make yourself a pull list. Get in there and buy some cool comics. You can see on the show topics, I've got a ton of cool books here, and we're going to get into which books I'm excited about reading today. Another thing I want to talk about is the Patreon. Yes, we have a Patreon up. I'm dropping little bonus videos in there. I put a tour of this store, so if you're interested in checking that out, go check out the Patreon. Support us for as little as $1 a month. It literally means a big deal. It really helps us out. We literally only have 2 Patreons right now, but, you know, that's kind of my fault. I haven't reached out to enough people, but if you like what we're doing here and you want to support, go check out the Patreon. Also, on this week's episode of Nerds Talk Star Wars, I sat down with Zena Duncan, who is an incredible cosplayer. She does an incredible Hera, and she's an amazing person. I met her at Star Wars Celebration. We got some conversations going about some things with regards to Rebels and The Last Jedi. Zena's cool. She's an opinionated person, so I'm looking forward to showing you guys the conversations that we had this Sunday. But I also did a bonus video with her, which will drop on the Patreon, talking about our first meeting. It's actually kind of a funny story. She saved my life. It's very interesting. Go check that out, okay? Now, let's get in to the first topic of the day. And the first topic of the day is Deadpool 2 related. Guys, we might have gotten fake news. It might have happened. I don't know what else to say. Apparently, the reports that we went over on Monday about Deadpool 2 and the screenings having negative reactions, apparently there's not a lot of truth to those rumors. A lot of different junkets and news people kind of came out and were talking about the real story when it comes to this. And apparently, Deadpool 2 is going to be fine. And so, one, I wanted to apologize about covering that topic, but I did say on Monday, take it with a grain of salt. These are rumors, it's speculation, yada, yada, yada. And I don't regret anything that I said on Monday's show because it was sort of a diatribe of like what's going on in Hollywood, creative differences, things that happen behind the scenes. And I stick by what I said for sure, but the reports out there that Deadpool is doing fine. Now, there's 2 things I want to talk about with this story. Number one, the reshoots. Apparently, there are reshoots going on. They've been going on for several weeks up in Vancouver. And what is being reported is that these reshoots are to inject more humor into the film, and not just humor in general, but relevant humor. And so, considering the success of Black Panther, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some Black Panther jokes. Considering some stuff that we've been hearing about Infinity War, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some Infinity War jokes. And so, I think those are the type of things that you do with reshoots in Deadpool. That's what's being reported. By the way, I think that's pretty stinking cool, actually. I'm pretty excited about that. And even though I secretly want Deadpool 2 to fail for reasons that I went over on the episode on Monday, I'm glad that it's not chaos. I'm glad it's not as terrible as people are saying. I'm very much looking forward to the film because I'm a huge Deadpool fan, but I'm an even bigger Cable fan, so I'm really excited for that. Now, also, when it comes to the screenings, these screenings did exist, and, you know, I don't know if it's because this one dude came out and was talking crap on Twitter or whatever, but now people are coming out and actually giving the true story. And both of the scores from the two screenings that came out were very, very high. Steve Frosty Weintraub from Collider is literally saying that these were in the 90s. That's pretty crazy. And so it would appear it's like the exact opposite of the story that was circulating on Monday. Not only is Deadpool 2 not terrible, apparently it's pretty freaking dope. So I wanted to run that story by you guys. Please let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this story? I mean, is your head just discombobbled? Do you not know what to think of Deadpool anymore? Or are you confident that the other stories were fake and that the film is going to be just fine and do really, really well? I definitely want to hear what everybody has to say about that in the comment section below. Now, let's move in to our next topic, and it is Infinity War. As I've said before, a lot of Infinity War news is going to be dropping as we head closer to that movie. It's the big deal. It's the biggest movie of the year, biggest movie probably ever. And by the way, too, I have a ton of really cool sort of shorter videos, including my top 3 favorite rumors, the top 5 characters I think are going to die, different cool little bonus videos like that that are going to be dropping throughout the week. But today's story is with regards to some things that Mark Ruffalo said. Now, here's the thing, guys. Mark Ruffalo is a national treasure. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos where he gets online and gives away way too much information, and then he's talking about the producer Barry and how Barry's going to, like, slap his wrist, so to speak, and then he's going to be in trouble. So it's, you know, it's kind of an interesting, but I got this quote here that I want to go over, right? So this is something that Ruffalo said, and it's led to a lot of speculation. A lot of people are very excited about this. So he says, Banner knows more about Thanos than probably anybody, and he's really trying to impress on everyone how dangerous he is. It's a little bit of Chicken Little. He comes in screaming bloody murder. He's seen what damage he can cause and how powerful he is, and the entire group is in disarray. So he's also getting caught up on what's happening here and is trying to get them to transcend their differences and impress upon them how much danger they're actually facing. The Hulk is also mightily impressed by Thanos. Now, there were some other statements that he made, different things that he said, where he said that the Hulk is terrified of Thanos and different things like that. So that's where we take this story now. So I think this is really interesting for a couple of different reasons. Now, Hulk there's a lot of like mystery sort of surrounding Hulk. In fact, one of my favorite rumors, which is going to be in that top 3 rumors video that I'm going to drop, is about him separating from Banner and Thanos perhaps messing with Hulk, making Hulk fight the Avengers yet again. And I know, right? Like, how many times is Hulk going to fight the Avengers? It seems kind of whack. But hey, look, it works. And if he's a little bit more ragey, sort of World War Hulk style, I'm down to get that version of the Hulk. But in either case, focusing on this story in particular, we think that Hulk and Thor are going to meet up with Thanos first, right? The Sanctuary 2, which is a post-credit scene at the end of Thor Ragnarok, the Sanctuary 2 rolls up on the spaceship which all the Asgardians are on, and this includes Hulk, right? So in Thor Ragnarok, Banner says, I don't want to transform into Hulk. If I do, I might be lost forever. And yet he does so to try to help save people, mostly Valkyrie, because he's got the hats for Valkyrie. But so he does that, transforms, and so Hulk is with Loki and Thor when they first interact with Thanos. We've also heard from the Russo brothers and from Kevin Feige that Thanos is going to do something in the first 5 minutes of the film that are absolutely terrifying and horrible. They've said that they want Thanos to be the Darth Vader of this generation. They want him to just be recognized as just this crazy evil villain. So he's got to make an impact right away. And what do we think this is setting up? Well, we think this is literally that ship and Thor and Hulk interacting with Thanos. And a lot of people think that Thanos is going to cause a lot of destruction there, kill a lot of people, maybe even Loki, which is a different rumor and a different story, but that's sort of the thing. And so we believe that Hulk is going to witness this. He's going to probably try to fight Thanos, and Thanos is just gonna put him down like a dog, like literally just whoop his butt. He's probably gonna like kill Loki, kill a bunch of Asgardians. He throws Thor seemingly into the middle of space, which is where, he runs into the Milano and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Hulk himself is thrown to Earth through the Sanctum Sanctorum as a message. Now, this part in the original Thanos Quest storyline, that was Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer is thrown into the Sanctum, and he's like freaking out and warning everybody about Thanos. So I think this is very interesting. It implies some crazy dark stuff happening, and some people believe that whatever happens at the beginning of the movie is so frightening to Hulk that Hulk decides to remain inside Banner and not come out because he's that afraid. But either way, Banner would have been cognitive for that, and Banner would know what is going on, and he's going to try to impress upon everybody what's going on with Thanos and why they should all be afraid. Now, the other side of the story that I think is interesting, and this was echoed not only in that quote, but in a couple other things that Ruffalo said. He said, look, Banner rather, is different. He's liberated a little bit after Ragnarok. Because he's been gone for so long, his sort of angsty side, the side of him that was more submissive, that sort of disappears. And you have this more brash version of Banner. And we saw it in Thor Ragnarok. But what people are saying now is that version is going to be very abrasive to Tony Stark, to Doctor Strange, to all the Avengers. And it's going to be so interesting. It's almost like a new character. It's a new version of Bruce Banner that we haven't seen before. And he's going to be interacting with the Avengers and being sort of brash. And he doesn't understand the Civil War conflict. That was another thing that Mark said. So when he's hanging out with these Avengers and he's like, hey, Tony, we need to get the Avengers together. Where's Cap? Where's, I don't even know if he would know Scarlet Witch, but he's going to, well, he would from Age of Ultron. But like when he asks Tony about the Avengers and Tony has to tell him that the Avengers are disassembled, that's going to be something that Hulk just does not compute. And he's like, nah, we need to get this figured out. You guys don't realize the terror that is coming for us. I think this is great. And that's sort of going to be the function of Bruce and Hulk in the story. Once again, it also speaks to the power and the destruction and the craziness that Thanos will wrought on the Avengers in this movie. I mean, come on, we knew this was obvious, but like the Hulk, who's the strongest Avenger, arguably. I personally think it's Doc Strange, maybe Captain Marvel when she comes into the fold, but that's the story out there. Hulk is afraid of Thanos. It's pretty crazy, so I wanted to go over that, and I definitely want to know what all of you think about that in the comment section below. I mean, do you think that Thanos is going to just whoop Hulk? Is Hulk going to be able to put up a fight at all at the beginning of the film? Is the Black Order going to be there? How do you see this going down? Do you think Hulk is literally so afraid he's going to be staying inside of Banner? That's an interesting development, right? Hulk, this brash character. What if, like, Bruce is trying to transform and Hulk's like, nah, bro, I want nothing to do with that mofo known as Thanos. I'm out. That would be interesting. I'd be interested in seeing that. So please let me know your thoughts about all of that in the comment section below, guys. Holy crap, we're heading towards Infinity War. I'm getting pretty stinking excited. Now, let's get into the third topic of the day. This one is going to be a lot of fun for me. This is Dragon Ball related. Now, whether or not you're a casual Dragon Ball fan or you're a hardcore Dragon Ball fan, I'm going to assume that you're aware of what Dragon Ball is. Maybe you watch the anime, you watch this, the stories here and there. Let me catch you up and explain what's going on. So currently there is an anime running in Japan right now. It's being dubbed and subbed. And the dub is well behind the Japanese version, but it is airing on Toonami and different things like that here in the States. And so Dragon Ball's back. It was like 20 years, no anime. Dragon Ball came back. This was after the Dragon Ball Renaissance that was started with Battle of Gods, Fakatsu no F, which were big movies. All of this was happening in around 2014 when I was taking my comic book to different Comic-Cons. And so I have really fond memories of going around to different big Comic-Cons and just seeing like the plethora of Dragon Ball fans and how into it people are. Now things with like fighters, Dokkan, Dragon Ball's at an all-time high. The hype level's real, and this anime was a big part of that. People love this anime, but it was recently announced that the anime was ending. And people were like, what? How is this possible? Why would you end an anime that is so successful and so many people love? And we sort of got as an explanation, well, we're ending the anime and we're doing this movie, and there's going to be another movie at the end of 2018. And so for the longest time, which in the internet right now is like a couple weeks, people were speculating about this and we didn't have clear answers. So recently, a couple statements from both Toei Animation and the Dragon Ball creator himself, Akira Toriyama, who's like the George Lucas of Dragon Ball over there, essentially came out and gave us some statements about the film. Now, what we know now is that this movie is going to take place after the story of Dragon Ball Super, which is currently airing. So if you're following the series, there's a tournament of power going on right now for the survival of different universes. That's going to end in the next couple of weeks here. And then this movie at the end of 2018, which is set to release on December 14th, that movie is said to be the next chapter in the story. Okay, so this is very interesting. Now, the provisional title for this movie is actually just Dragon Ball Super. It's a provisional title, so it might not be a Dragon Ball Z movie, which it's important to note both Fakatsu no F and Battle of Gods were Dragon Ball Z movies. This one appears for now to be a Dragon Ball Super movie, which is interesting and an evolution of the story. But we are hearing that this story is going to have a couple of different elements. So let me get into this. Number one, it is going to be sort of a tribute or a compilation to the Saiyans themselves. And so at least part of this movie is going to talk about the history of the Saiyans themselves, their place in the galaxy. So that's really interesting, but it feels almost flashbacky, like a companion story to the main story, which will be about furthering the storyline, and it will have something to do with Frieza. And apparently that's supposed to bridge between the companion story and the real story. And then there's a new villain that Toriyama referred to as a worthy foe, a long-awaited worthy foe for Goku and the Z Fighters. And so this is very interesting, and this also coincides with some news that implies that the current anime will end on a cliffhanger, which may be explored in the movie or might be explored in the anime when the anime returns. Now, I'm going to put this image back up again. This is a design by Akira Toriyama because I want everybody to check this out, and I want to just say one more really nerdy thing about this before we get into it. So, the thing about this, guys, is if you'll notice, this animation style is actually much more akin to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z than it is Dragon Ball Super. The main art director or the director of animation for Dragon Ball Super made subtle changes to the face design, tried to give it a little more three-dimensional of a look. There was different shading on the cheeks, different things like that going on. And so it was different than what we were used to in Dragon Ball Z. And so what people are saying now is that this anime, the new movie, is not going to be like that. It is actually going to be more like Z and go back to the old character designs, which are a little more flat in nature. And so there should be a better nostalgia factor there. Fans will probably be more into that art. And Toei has come out and said they want this to be the best looking Dragon Ball movie of all time. They have a lot of animators from the One Piece movies and the One Piece shows. They are coming on board for this thing, so they're putting a lot of eggs in this basket, but I wanted to talk about this story for the Dragon Ball fans out there. Look, I was right there with you. I was upset when I heard about the ending of the series. I thought there's no way this movie would be a good idea, a way to continue the story. It appears that the story is going to continue and that this movie is going to... the way I'm viewing the movie is that it's going to be designed to sort of bring in all the old Dragon Ball fans, bring in new Dragon Ball fans because it's talking about the Saiyans and that kind of dopeness, and also continue the story for the hardcore fans that have been following along with the anime and the manga. And so, you know, there was something else said about some of the mysteries from Super, because there's a lot of stuff in the anime that's just completely unexplained that sort of frustrates fans. Apparently, we're getting some answers in the movie and perhaps in the next anime. So that's sort of all the news out there. I know it's sort of an info dump when it comes to this thing, but I wanted to get this out there because I have a lot of Dragon Ball subscribers on the channel, and I haven't been doing a lot of Dragon Ball content because of this show and because of other types of things we're moving around. So I'm going to do this video. By the way, I'm dropping this video as a bonus video. I'm going to cut out this segment of the show and upload it later today. So the Dragon Ball fans will have a condensed version of this. And if you like this setup and the look of this, you might want to check out the actual show, the Nerdy News Rundown, which goes 5 days a week here from Uncanny beautiful comic book store. So that's all on that, but I definitely want to know what you guys think about this. If you're a hardcore Dragon Ball fan, let me know where your head is at with this. Are you excited? If you're a casual fan, is this something perhaps interesting enough to get you to check out this new show, or this new movie rather? I'm really interested to hear what everybody's thinking about this, so drop me a line in the comment section below and let's get into it. All right, let's get into the last official topic of the day. It's New Comic Book Day. What else? We're going to talk about new comic books, and you're seeing Mr. Miracle on the screen right now. This is a brilliant book by Tom King. I came into this late. I think I came into like issue 3 or 4. One of the coolest comic books I've read in a long time. It's also important to note, and I think this is something comics don't always do right, you don't need to know anything about this world, about the fourth world, these characters, Mr. Miracle, Big Barter, Barda. You don't really need to know much about those characters to still find this comic book very enjoyable. But I want to pull this up for you guys here. This is, I believe, the variant cover for issue number 7. I can't wait to dig into this later. It's just great cartooning, and it uses the 9-panel grid system, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm actually writing a script in 9-panel right now, and man, I'm so pumped to get this. So this would be my top pick for people to check out. There's also some cool Star Wars books. This Darth Vader series has been fantastic. Charles Soule, I actually was at Celebration during the Marvel panel, and I listened to him talk about this series, and it was brilliant, man. And I just think that unlike the first Vader series, which had its ups and downs, this book has focused on important pieces of canon, things that are interesting for people as a huge Star Wars fan, things that you would want to know about. It's had little ups and downs too, but overall, fantastic series. So I'm looking forward to getting into this later today. That's another pick for me. Then, because I'm such a Thrawn fanboy, this comic book, which is just an adaptation of the novel, is so cool. I mean, it's interesting to see how different media tackles the same story beats, right? And so visually, it's just so cool to see Eli Vanto and Thrawn hanging out, and their battles, and the way that Thrawn navigates through the political hierarchy, because one of the things that he struggles with is the actual politics. He's a brilliant strategist, a brilliant tactician, but he doesn't have tact. So he's no bueno at that sort of stuff. And then the last book that I'm going to recommend for everybody is Avengers No Surrender 10. This pick was mostly put in there because of Dustin. But I do actually like this book a lot. He got me to check it back out, and it's been very interesting. A lot of cool Hulk stuff in here, of course. Hulk has had a rough go of it in the last couple years as a character, and there's also some big reveals in here. And look, we're getting closer to Fresh Take, which is something I'm going to give a big chance on. I have not been happy with Marvel the last couple of years. I'm willing to give them another shot with Fresh Take, and so this is sort of leading into that. I'm pretty interested in it. And so those are my picks for New Comic Book Wednesday. But you should definitely go check out comics on Wednesdays. It's a fun thing. You get in here, you interact with fans. People are always coming in here talking about the things that happen. It's one of the reasons that I love doing the show in here, one of the reasons I love being involved. And to be quite honest with you, the comic book industry is hurting. It needs more actual support from readers. And I'm telling you, there are great stories that are being told on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And I just think that the pitch, they bury the lead with comics. The thing that they should be telling people is, these are brilliant stories. If you like these characters, you're going to like these stories. That's where I land on it. So I highly recommend people going in, checking out some comics on New Comic Book Wednesday. All right, let's get into some fan questions. And I only picked one fan question today, and it's a very interesting one. And I'm trying to pull up the guy's name who asked it on the last episode. Let me see if I can do that real quickly. It has to do with the Infinity Gauntlet and with death in the MCU. It was a cool question. All right, I got him right here. Pulling it up. Okay, so this question comes from Venomous45 Vaughn. He says, what's the point of the Infinity Gauntlet if the heroes can't be brought back? I'm hearing more and more of Iron Man dying and becoming an AI. If that's the case and multiple sources are predicting it, then what are the stakes if it really happens? You never hear that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman need to permanently die? And so I think this is a fair question. Now, the reason I have Wolverine's picture here up on the screen is because I want to talk about like comic book tropes, right? So Wolverine was dead in comics for several years. He died in comics. He had a good ending, and they said he wasn't coming back, right? He was dead, and he wasn't in any stories. And now, not only is he back, but he's playing a major role in a big Avengers story having to do with the gems and Thanos and different things like that. And so I think there's a couple of different things that I want to get into with regards to this question specifically. One, I would say it's a never say never sort of thing. I do think, though, that just like in comics, we need to change things up and have a different main cast for a while. This is something that continuously happens in comics. It keeps things fresh, it keeps things new. And look, we've been hanging out with Iron Man, Thor, and Cap and these guys for 10 years now. I know that's crazy, right? It's crazy to even think about, but it's been 10 years. And so I think it really does benefit the overall universe, the story, the other characters, if some characters pass. Now, for your question about the Gauntlet could obviously bring people back. Now, it might bring a bunch of people back. There's a rumor right now that Thanos might actually kill all of the Avengers, or like 99% of them. And so that vision that Tony Stark had, it might come to pass, and they might just literally all die. And in comics, Thanos kills a ton of these people. He snaps his fingers and kills half the life in the universe. And then ultimately, using the Gauntlet, that is undone. And so you could see a scenario like that. But it's also possible that that won't happen, and there could be a reason why we don't use the Gauntlet to bring people back. And I'm reminded of Mordo at the end of Doctor Strange. He's literally talking about how the bill always comes due. You don't just mess with the laws of nature. You've got to treat these things with respect. And so there could be consequences for bringing people back to life. There could be consequences for messing with time. Perhaps there's already consequences. One of the really cool rumors out there is that little continuity error with Spider-Man Homecoming about the 8 years later, that it's not actually a continuity error. That when Doctor Strange, which was the movie that preceded that Spider-Man film, when Doc Strange messed with time, it messed the timeline up. That's really interesting, right? And so there could be consequences to using the Gauntlet, using the Infinity Stones, and bringing people back. So that's sort of my explanation for it. You know, you never hear about Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman needing to be killed. Well, you know, they killed Superman at the end of Batman v Superman, bro. So, I mean, you know, the idea of permanence, I think, is subjective. I would say permanent for a while. So wouldn't it be interesting if these characters went away and then came back way, way later down the road? I mean, I am okay with that. And I know that some people sort of think, well, you know, if you freshen it up, there's a chance that some people won't like it. You have to grow as a franchise. Consider The Last Jedi. This is an interesting thing for me. So I was just talking to Xena about this a lot yesterday, right? Well, you'll see this on Sunday for our episode of Nerds Talk Star Wars. You know, it needed to be different. Last Jedi was sort of the sacrificial lamb to what needed to happen to Star Wars. It couldn't just keep remaining the same. It couldn't just keep doing the same thing. It will always do certain things similar because it's just the way that Star Wars works. Similar with the MCU. It's always going to do things similar. But I think for the future of the continuity, it is important that we have some stakes, that we have some characters lost, and that will affect the world around them, right? So I did that video about the 5 Avengers characters that I think are going to die in Infinity War. And so part of the reason when I'm doing that is one of the things I listed as a reason is the fact that these deaths will be so impactful to the current characters that we have. You can't understate that. That's very important from a character's perspective, that they have lost, that they have things that didn't go their way, struggles that they have to overcome. And especially when it comes to legacy, right? The idea of Bucky becoming Cap, right? The idea of War Machine becoming Iron Man, or maybe Shuri down the line becoming Iron Man. The legacy has to be passed on away. And I think important to creating that legacy is having the character make a big sacrifice or have a loss. And so I hope that sort of answers your question. Once again, just to what I preface the whole thing with is, you know, in comic book logic, permanent don't really mean permanent. It's not actually permanent. So I would say it's a for now sort of thing. I really do believe that the AI thing is going to happen with Tony. I think it's the perfect solution for that character. And so, yeah. So, thank you very much for the question. By the way, guys, please drop questions in the comment section below on this video. I will go over them in tomorrow's show or in a show in the future. I want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. One more time, I want to thank Uncanny. I want to tell you guys to check out the Patreon. There's cool bonus videos on there. And honestly, like, we need the help. I want to grow this thing to a big level. And any little bit that you guys can help us out with, that is much appreciated. So, please go check out the Patreon. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. So as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day. And I will see you tomorrow. All right.